going on, everybody? So today's game plan is to install the gauge. I finally ordered it and received it. It's just a regular Chinese digital gauge. Unfortunately, I had to go digital because of the front end. I really wanted to use the analog gauge to keep the whole Café Racer theme going, but it's just not possible with the front end I have. I also started working on the tank. I went with a flat black, and then I'll try to go with the gold theme or whatever I originally wanted to do. I think it looks pretty good, so I'll show it to you right now. So that's the tank in flat black. I think it looks pretty good. It really has some good contrast between the engine colors now. I still have to paint the frame again because it's all chipped and stuff since I worked on it. And I need to install the seat again. So I'll show you the gauge though. This is the gauge I got. It has a sort of analog needle for the RPMs, but the rest of the speedometer and all that is here. It's got a whole bunch of features I'm never going to use. Ultimately, I'm just going to hook up the signal lights, the neutral light, the high beam, the RPMs, and the speedometer. I don't care about everything else that it offers, like fuel gauge and whatnot. I don't even think this tank has some sort of fuel gauge sending unit, so I'm not even bothered with it. The instructions that came with it are hilarious. They don't make any sense, but it's got the wiring diagram there, so that's good. This also apparently has a shifter light. Again, I'm not going to try to even install that. It just looks way too complicated. And then this is the important part that I need to get the speedometer to work. So this hooks up, it's like magnetic, hooks up to the front wheel, and then that should give me a reading. So I'm going to go ahead and try to install this. I will just cut to the chase, I'll hook it up, and then I'll show you what wires went to where so that you can do it on your own if you decide to get the same eBay, Amazon gauge, or something similar. You'll know how to hook it up to the Virago harness. So let's get at it. Before I go ahead and actually install this, I'll give you guys a description of what the wires on this harness are, since these instructions are a joke. They don't actually make any sense, and I tried to follow the colors, but they don't actually represent what the wires on the harness actually do. So basically there are 4 of these plastic clips on this gauge, one of which is the main one that controls all the power and the high beams, turn signals, all that kind of stuff. One of them is for the speed sensor, so this is the thing that's going to actually tell me my kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And then the other 2 are for the gear indicator. I'm not going to be using this because I did try to look up how to even do that, and it's just way too much work. And honestly, I don't really care about that. So what I did is I chopped up all the stock wires coming on this clip, since this doesn't fit. From what I googled and YouTube, this is like a standard Honda clip, and it should fit in most Hondas. Unfortunately, it's a Yamaha, and I also already cut most of my clips, so this is not going to work for me. So basically what I want to show you is the colors on the harness itself. So we have this black one here, which the black one off the unit on the main clip is 12 volt or power, like constant. Then the black and purple, or black and red, I think is the RPMs to read the signal for your tach. I'm not 100% confident in that yet, I haven't tested it. Then I have the other yellow one here that I marked that's all red. That's another 12 volt connection. So out of the 2, the black and the red one is the accessory 12 volt and one is the constant 12 volt. So one should be hooked up to the ignition switch and one should be hooked up to the battery. And then I have, let me see, there's one for the neutral light, which is on this harness is yellow and white, is the neutral light. This blue one here is my high beam. Then this other one, where is it? This orange one is the left turn signal, and then the sky blue one is the right signal. And that's all I'm really going to use on this harness, because like I said, I don't care about the rest. So I'll show you how you can actually bench test this as well, just so you can make sure that it actually works before you go ahead and try to install all this. I'll show you how to bench test this gauge, or this type of gauge. It should be pretty standard for any of the eBay or Amazon type of gauges that are digital. The negative ground, the negative wire rather, that comes off the harness, I put an alligator clip and I ran that clip directly to the negative side of the battery. And then the two ignition or 12 volts supplies, I put alligator clips on those, and then you basically connect both of them to the positive battery post. The reason you do that is because they're essentially the same, but since it's not actually hooked up to my harness yet, they both require power. So one, like I said, is going to go directly to the battery when I actually permanently hook this up on the bike, and then one is going to go connecting to my ignition switch so that when I turn it on, then everything should work. So I'll just go ahead and connect the two posts to the positive side of the battery. So it should turn on the gauge, and then hook up the other side. So you can see that I turned it on. I'll zoom in here. Okay. So obviously, yeah, this gauge has a fuel gauge. I'm probably not going to hook that up because I believe the fuel gauge sending unit on this factory tank went with the factory tank, so I don't actually have anything to make this gauge work for the fuel, so it'll probably just stay flashing like that. Okay, so test the rest of the stuff here. So this is how I actually found out what each wire does. So as mentioned, I've got the right signal, left signal, neutral light, and then high beam is what I'm concerned about using. The rest of the stuff I don't care. There's that 1 RPM gauge or wire, and like I said, I'm going off of the instructions that came with this, but it could be inaccurate considering all the rest of the wires were incorrectly labeled. You take each wire and you put it to the positive side. Just make sure they don't touch anything so they don't short. So right now I have the right signal, so I'm going to put it to the positive side. There you go, so you see that it turned on the gauge. This is the left signal, same thing. Okay, and then this is the high beam, so you can see it turned on. And then I've got the neutral light. So the neutral light won't work, and the way to test this is to actually put this to the ground. So there you go. So that's basically how you test this to make sure that it works. I'll show you the speedometer thing too. So here's the magnet, here's the pickup, and I'll just flash it in front. I don't know if you can see that. So you can see that it's working there. So the other thing about this gauge is calibrating that seems to be a real pain in the ass. There's a whole procedure which I need to first find how I'm going to mount this. The only way that I can think of mounting that pickup coil is actually putting it on the rotor itself. But the issue with that is when I change the rotors at some point, I don't want to have to recalibrate everything, so I'm trying to see where I can actually mount the magnet and the pickup coil permanently so I never have to adjust it again. I don't know if this location on the hub is a good spot to do it. I would have to fabricate some sort of bracket. I'm thinking I can use these holes and bring it down and then put the magnet on this. But I'm not 100% sure if that works because I have to know the wheel circumference to calibrate it. Otherwise, if I can't figure it out, then I guess I will have to put it here. The rotors are pretty much brand new anyways, so I don't have to replace them anytime soon. And to be honest, I don't think I'll ride this bike every day where I'll ever actually have to replace this for the time that I own it. But I would like to make it easy for someone to figure out or fix if I ever sold the bike and they have to deal with this. I've got the gauge all hooked up for the most part. One thing I came across when I was doing this though is the neutral light for the gauge. I won't actually be able to hook up, unfortunately, because it was attached to some other sort of relay circuit that I eliminated. So I'm not 100% sure if there's actually a way to hook it up, but I do have the rest of the dash lights on. The only thing left I need to install right now is the tack. So it's this wire here, and from what I read online, I just need to hook into the negative side of the pickup coil, or one of the pickup coils, which are right here. If that doesn't work, then I can also attempt to hook it up to the CDI box. So this thing here, but I'm not 100% which wire that is, so I'll have to look over the entire wiring diagram to figure that out. I can't start the bike right now, it's raining, but I will hook this up with alligator clips to one of the negative side posts on the pickup coils, or the coils rather, and then hope that that works. But ultimately, I'll go ahead and show you the gauge here. I'm going to keep this on until I'm done so I don't get all scratched up like my headlight. This is all scratched now. You can kind of see it, it's hazy. So I need to buff that clean. I might just get another headlight anyways because it's really cheap. So I'll turn it on. So I have my high beam, so you can see there. Kind of see it flicker a little bit. I got the turn signals. That's pretty much it. Then I'll have the RPM gauge to go on, and then the actual speedometer, which is right here, which again I still need to figure out how I'm going to mount this and make this work. So what I did to hook up all these cables, you just got to find out which is what, and then for the turn signals I tapped into the taps inside the headlight, which are connected to this stock, the turn signal stock. The high beam I just connected directly to the wire coming off of the high beam on the inside of the headlight. That's essentially it, and the neutral light would have worked if I still had it, and I would just had to have connected that, so it's pretty straightforward. I went through and showed you how you can test these gauges so you know what wire is what, but ultimately it's not all that difficult. So yeah, hopefully that helps you guys. There really isn't all that much left to do. There's the new filter I need to get, which I haven't found an aftermarket bolt-on, so I'm going to probably have to make my own housing for it. Otherwise, I'm almost done, and just clean up all the wires and all that shit. Put the seat back on, get the tires changed, and then I think I'm done. So if you guys enjoyed that, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe, and then hit the little bell that shows to be notified for all videos. A little bit annoying, I know, but I actually was watching a video from Chase on Two Wheels, how he explained how the whole thing has changed and works now. It kind of sucks as being the creator to have to ask your followers to do this, but then it also sucks as a follower, because I follow a bunch of people as well, where I was wondering why I didn't get notified anymore. It's because you need to select and click to be notified of all videos that they post. So it's kind of messed up how YouTube has changed the entire system, but no big deal. I'm not a big YouTuber. I don't do this full time, but it would just be cool to get the bigger support and have a bigger following, so I can do more projects ultimately. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll catch you guys next time.